I think there's a difference between how moms see it and how dads see it.
Okay.
So for me, it was just about like, we just need to keep this baby alive. Like, that was the only thing. Like, I remember when it was like one-year-old birthday of Diana, the first girl. I was like, yes, we kept it alive.
Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tea Talks. So today we have a lot of different guests. Today, Nicole's the same. You've seen her before. But we have Abraham and we have Carol. Yeah, okay. So maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Sure. Yes, I'm Abraham. I have two kids. A girl, Diana, she's 5 years old, just turned 5 in December. And a boy, Luke, he's 1.5.
Oh.
Yeah, so two kids. But enjoying parenthood.
Interesting. Controversial.
Enjoying parenthood. So, Carol?
Okay, I'm not as lucky as Abraham. I can't offload. I only got one. So my husband and I, we have to take care of Atlas, who is 4, going 5 this year. And we love the outdoors, we love adventures. Before Atlas, we really went on crazy adventures. So the most epic one was ride to all the way to the border of China and then back on our motorbike. But of course we can't.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can't do it with Atlas, right?
Yeah.
And when he came along, we just have to change our lifestyle, but also have a little bit of adventure in it, in parenthood. So what I did was a 4 days, 3 night cycling trip around Singapore. Yeah, that's like little adventures here and there in our life to help us get by.
Is that why he's called Atlas?
Yes, we love
It's a very nice
traveling.
name.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yes, and actually on 16 January this year, we are going to set off for a 2 years adventure to travel around the world.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes, the 3 of us. So wish us luck!
So, you guys are married for how long?
7 years now.
7 years now.
Same for me. 7
Okay,
years.
7 years. I'm curious to know everyone's perspective here on your views on the parenthood journey before you were a parent, maybe when you were single or before or when you were married.
I think I was quite neutral. In fact, the first kid we had was a dog, so that's what we thought our life was going to be, just us and a dog. But my wife was always quite clear she wanted to be a mother, but we never kind of rushed into it or anything. And it was honestly when we both felt it's about right. We've explored the newly married life. We've done stuff we want to do. We're like, hey, maybe bringing someone else in to share that might be a good idea. And that's when we decided, okay, let's have a kid. Yeah. And then the same thing happened because I thought it was just going to be one kid. Because I was an only child, and it took me 4 years, because there's a gap, right, to realize actually maybe we can have that second one, and then it came. So it was never from the start I was I want a family of X number of kids. No, I was just taking it each step at a time, and then when it felt right,
sort of a neutral stance, but your wife was the one that wanted it, so I guess both of you were leaning towards that
Yeah, I guess I was never against, right? So I was like, okay, maybe if we have a child, there's a new journey we can go on together as a couple that I would never get to experience. And I was okay with having kids, so I was like, let's try that journey, and it's been a beautiful journey. So yeah.
Actually, Abraham, we are pretty similar. I have a dog too, Brody. We adopted him when he was 2 months old, Singapore special. So we brought him home and then this is our baby. And I just love dogs and I love children. I wanted 3. My husband's like, no, we're not gonna have 3. But after I changed my mind and I start to think maybe I don't want a child. Because I love adventures.
So at the start you wanted?
I wanted 3. That I don't want. I'm very fickle-minded. Okay. Yeah, so I didn't want a child. But after going on all the adventures and all, just kind of get okay, I think it's maybe time. But something happened during that motorbike trip. So we had an accident. And then we said okay, maybe we don't want to do such dangerous adventures anymore, so maybe a backpacking trip around the world sounds good.
Right.
But we dropped the idea and hey, now we can have children, right? Because we're not going on a motorbike trip. So we're my husband said, yeah, maybe we could. So when Atlas finally came, it's it's just nice. And I think it's just right timing.
So I was chronically single for like 5 years. And during that period of time...
Just segue, right? We did a recent episode that she's announced that she's attached, right? Then someone in the comments was like, so happy that Nicole is attached. I was like, wow!
No, it's true, because there's been multiple times I've said on OGS like, oh, I've been single for so long. Anyway, so I was single for 5 years, and I think during that 5 years, I was surrounded with a lot of like single friends as well, and all these single friends were very, and myself included, very like strong in our ideals of like identity and like self and like just career and stuff like that. So I think my stance was always that I think that motherhood would be very debilitating in every aspect of my life. And I'm sure that this is something that you as a modern woman would have thought about. But I think I just can't reconcile the amount of like sacrifices that I would have to make if I were to go through pregnancy, right? And it's not just even like having a good partner that can support me, because he will never be pregnant and carrying the baby for 9 months and going through all that physical, emotional pain, right? So, but yeah, I think one thing that strikes me is that there are so many negatives around like being a parent or like just being a mother, right? The postnatal blues is very real to me. Like it sounds so scary that you went through it, and I'm glad that you're better and you had like strong family support. But yeah, just like putting yourself through that, and then what if you didn't have like your family support? What if you're in a relationship where it's just the two of you guys, very distant from your family, financially maybe only one person is working, and then there's the other thought of like, if I become a mother, will that consume my entire identity? Will I only be seen as like a mother instead of all these things that I was before, right? So
very real concerns.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to just be like, Mom.
What are your concerns?
I feel like therapy. What are your concerns, Nicole? Tell me. Yeah, I think it's just exactly that, right? It's like, let's say I'm a mother and I'm like 1 month, I have a 1 month old baby, and then suddenly I'm damn interested in becoming a spin instructor. Who will give me, if I need to be awake in shifts, how am I going to wake up at 6 a.m. and go, yeah.
I tell you, right, honestly, sometimes I think, and I had like a lot of these questions also in my head, like, my life before that, and then knowing like the child is going to come and things are going to change. But I realized that maybe at some point, maybe as Singaporeans, we overthink or we're very calculative about like everything that's going to happen, right? And then I realized that actually we don't need to. Like after you have the kid, you realize that you will know what to do and you will know when to offload to parents or to someone else that wants to help, and you will find your journey and you won't stop it. When you go through that first 2 months, maybe, like, yes, things are very challenging and different because it's a completely new thing. It's like going into a new job, right? And there will be all these different hardships and you will be like, is this right for me? I don't know. Are they going to increase my salary? I don't know. Like, there's so many questions. But once it stabilizes and you kind of know all your colleagues and things are fine, then and then things will just like kind of like iron itself out, and then you'll be able to explore your journeys, your personal journeys as well after that. At least that's what I felt. Yeah.
You don't feel like you made any sacrifices along the way?
Yeah, I want to know, like, as a dad front, on the dad front, like, I'm sorry to say, sometimes I don't hear like dads being that involved in like the whole child journey.
At the start, you do feel very helpless. Okay. That is true. From the delivery to the
You're not going through
breastfeeding.
Postnatal depression,
like you do feel a bit like useless, because you're just like, what am I gonna do now, right? But all you can do is support, and you can help with whatever else you cannot help.
Nicole's having a hard time grasping
this. I still seem to think that it's very like imbalanced, and I hate to make it a gendered thing, but it is a gendered thing, right? Like that a woman will find it infinitely harder to
absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
Bounce back in every aspect of her life, right? So, and then I know you are saying that you try to support in the areas where maybe she's doing a bit more of the heavy lifting, but will that ever truly be equal? You know what I mean?
I think if you want a 50-50 or like a 30-70, you can never get it. Because I think marriage, right, or even balancing family needs and all, you can never be that like 50-50 or like 30-70. You cannot measure. So it's really give and take, understanding your partner. Like Ibrahim, he understands that his wife have to go through the pain to breastfeed, to give birth to a child. So actually, if you have a very supportive partner, things will definitely work out. So, not to ask you not to worry, I'm sure you will worry because I worry a lot too. And I overthink a lot before I even step into anything. That's just Carol. You can think, you can plan, but don't think of what you cannot control.
Okay.
But then I think
But I want to say, right, that if, honestly, like if you think about all the like, if you're being calculative with having a child, right, all arrows will point to like it is a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's true. You will have to make certain changes to your lifestyle. You won't do what you're doing now, 100% the same. Like that's for sure. But then I think it's very hard to explain until like after you have the child, then you realize that actually this was like beneficial, like to my life.
I know we're talking a little bit more about the realness of like having a kid and all that. Were there any fears you guys had or mistakes you fear you would make as a new parent when you all started on the journey?
A lot.
Like?
A lot. Like from the feeding, like am I feeding my child right? Is it the right amount of food to give? Oh no, the child is not eating. Is it okay? Oh no, the child is not meeting his or her milestones. Would that be a problem? But actually, right, I really just overthink too much. The child will just grow and everything will just be okay. Big thanks to my husband.
Yeah.
My husband is the one that behind the scene just chew guys. So I know he's been doing that and I really appreciate it. If not, I wouldn't be who I am today.
I think there's a difference between how moms see it and how dads see it.
Okay.
So for me, as the dad, it was just about like, we just need to keep this baby alive. Like that was the only thing. I remember when it was like one-year-old birthday of Diana, the first girl. I was like, yes, we kept it alive. Yes, success. Cause like I think that was the greatest fear, honestly. Cause you get all these like reports of sudden infant death syndrome, they die in their sleep or whatever, and you like they're so fragile. But then actually you realize that they're a lot tougher than we think they are.
But I wanted to ask you as actually like if your boyfriend now, like however it progresses, right? If he's like that supportive, super supportive father figure, would it change your perspective? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason why I had thoughts about having kids is because he has demonstrated very fatherly qualities and he's a very good, so cliche, but he's a good man lah. So
It's not cliche, it's good to have a good man.
everyone's like, he's a good man. I mean, he's a good man, so. But ultimately, I still think I harbor that thought of like, he's not the one carrying the baby, the relationship may not last forever, right? Then can I still live with...
Go in so...
It's true. But I guess the thing about like not overthinking it also is that I don't want to risk underthinking it. Like there are lots of things that you need to think about. You cannot just say, let's see how the finances pan out,
I will agree on the finance part. I think that is something that perhaps we should think through before we bring a kid into the world. Like whether
did you do that?
Yes, I think to some extent. Like you can. It can be cheap, based on like whatever you choose. But I know every parent wants to give the best, right, for their child. So naturally you would overspend, naturally. So we did kind of think about that and like, oh yeah, I think we have sufficient to have a kid, and also that was kind of how the process we had before we had the second one. It's like, yeah, I think now we're at a certain stage in our career, we can afford like a second kid and give him the same chances and opportunities we gave the first one. Because something we did explore was that we don't want to bring like second or third and then one of them has to sacrifice a lot and then like when they grow up they're like, yeah, you only gave like number one everything and then I got nothing. So we wanted to make sure that financially we could support and give all the opportunities to each the same. Like if daughter gets piano, you can also get piano, that kind of thing.
Then my next question also to you guys is like, because I mean you did share like some fears towards parenthood and you like towards your like having a kid this whole journey. Has there been anything that assured you that you are okay for this journey?
I think your children will let you know, like when they look at you and they say I love you and good night. Like in that moment, you will just know like, hey, I'm doing a good job. Like it's just in those small moments. You know, when they come to you for comfort because they stub their toe on the sofa, like you are their comfort. You know, you are the person that they want and that they need, and you're doing fine. Yeah.
I think children, they are like a blank piece of paper. So whatever you expose them or you give them, right, it's within your means and within what you can provide. Like for example, if I have a busy week, I just need to spend time, quality time with my child by spending 2 hours in the outdoors, or like just bring him to Coney Island, which is very near my place. He's very happy. He was like, oh, did you have a good day? Yes, Mama, I did. He will say such things. So things like that will just make me think that, whatever I've done, it's really more than enough.
Right, okay. And that's interesting. I mean, like, because you did share some of the struggles that you had was also balancing your work and parenting and all that. So for you, reprioritizing your goals in that sense for that season of your life was important steps to take to make sure that you are on track, I guess?
Yeah.
It sounds as if like you had to then make sacrifices.
Yeah, it's true. That sacrifices
Why
need to
should
be
I
made.
make sacrifices?
But it's like
That is life.
relationship.
Yeah, exactly. That is life. Sacrifices.
Sacrifice is like when you no longer find joy in something, then you feel like it's a sacrifice. I used to like do like emceeing on the side, and that was something I found joy in. I like doing it and then brought in some money, so like I did that. But then with the kids, I cannot do so much of that anymore because it's like weekends, and then I realized that I didn't find it a burden or a sacrifice in that sense because there's still the same joy by spending time with the kids on the weekend. And I love that just as much as I would have loved to do the emceeing. So in that sense, I didn't see it as like I am trying to compromise some part of my life because of you. Like it never felt like that way for me, because I think that the joy just shifts to the experience you're now having with the kid. Yeah.
Would you say that the three of you inherently all wanted kids? That you all...
I think I'm the only one who's supposed to get yes at this point, because I'm like no partner, no nothing, but I still want like kids. Yeah. Why you ask that question?
I guess the question is, it seems as if you both went through some forms of like being closer to, or better understandings of yourself, and like having very intense emotions with like humanity through like witnessing the birth of like children, right? But could you have all that without having a child?
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
In my opinion, I feel that after having a child, it's like a mindset shift. So it makes me like a whole new person. I never thought that I will have strong interests that I want to pursue because I want to hold on to my identity.
I can add to that, like two big things happened in my mind, like when my first girl was born. Like before that I was quite carefree, I was like, yeah, just every day doing what I did, and I say this because it's in contrast to what happened after my child was born. I was never really afraid of death. Okay, so when my child was born, I had this sudden
Death anxiety.
Yes, because I realized that I need to be around. I need to see her life through for as long as I possibly can. And I never had that thought in me ever before. So that was a completely new feeling. It was like, wow, existential kind of like crisis moment where like suddenly I had this great fear of death, and like I was like, I need to make sure I'm around to see their lives through. And the other one was an increase in ambition. I need to be the best I can be so that I can provide the best for them now.
I feel like, I don't know if it will convince you at this point. But I do feel like whatever I'm hearing is that when you take on an added responsibility, you do have to make changes in your life, and certain things will come, certain things will go, and I think if you want to, you will make those sacrifices in that sense, or make those changes or priority shifts, because it's something you naturally want to do for your child. Yeah, so I guess it's like what they say, when it comes, it comes.
When it happens, it happens.
Yeah, when it happens, it happens. Do you feel like having children made you prioritize that over your marriage?
No.
No. Okay. So it was because I know you said it was very intentional for you to kind of still have time with your wife.
Yeah, I always tell my wife that like we came first, and one day they will leave us. So we have to stick together and be strong together. So we try to intentionally make our own, like, date night, couple night. We still travel like without the children, like we just leave them at grandma's and go. And we feel like it's really needed, just so that we can still. That's how it all started,
For me, no too. I strongly believe that my husband and I needs to be happy, so Atlas can see a happy family. Happy parents means you will have a happy child. And I think when we get to do our things, like date nights and all, it's also a good opportunity for grandparents to take care of them. Right. So it's like not just the three of us, but more like an extended family bond that we are going to create. And it's actually very challenging for us. Our shift clash. And sometimes you will have like only mommy day or like papa's day. And we can't usually find, like sometimes when we have time together as a family in a week, we'll be very happy already. Yeah, so intentional dates, not losing couple time, it's very important to us.
So it's interesting to me, like, to hear that both of you kind of fight to have that your identity and like who you are as a person not necessarily change so much like once you have a kid. Instead, you incorporate that whole element into like who you are and like your families, and like a lot of growth also happens like as a parent. Things that you never naturally felt like you would do, or like you naturally feel like you would do, you guys actually do. It's exciting. I don't know, I'm excited. I have no partner now, but I'm excited. But yeah. But I mean, it's fine actually. Okay, but on the other hand, I also recognize how it's okay for those who don't want to have kids. And I think it's a different journey for different people. Everyone goes through their own journey, and it's fine whether you want to or you don't want to have kids. But it's very interesting actually to hear everyone's perspective today about like why, the different journey that everyone goes through.
I think if someone like doesn't want to have kids and that's the lifestyle that you want and you choose, it's really honestly fine. But for those who have like the fear that becoming a parent is going to like turn my whole life upside down for the worse, then I would say no, that actually doesn't happen, and it's much easier than you think it is.
Okay, that's valid. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone, for sharing all your perspectives. It was very nice to... Yeah, you guys are very chill parents, actually.
Yeah, I love it.
Like, very cool. Yeah, I would love to actually be your child and get to travel 2 years around the world. Please. It's I feel very zen whenever when I talk to
true.
like when I talk to them.
They have like a different level of wisdom.
Yeah.
Children. Children.
When your children are like screaming all the time, you just have to be like,
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Mindset.
Love it. Okay. Thanks so much for sharing all your wisdoms. Nicole and I learned a lot. We are kind of equipped. Yeah, but anyway, this is enough adulting for today. We'll see you for the next episodes of Tea Talks. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe we'll approach more adulting topics. Maybe we will talk about other stuff. But yeah, till then, we'll see you, okay? Bye.